Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Pethley. I am the owner of Shellys Wreaths and More, and I'm here today with the event for women at Rustoleum. I'm making one of the candlesticks. You have 3 to choose from, and the other 2 candlesticks are a snowman candlestick and an angel candlestick, and this will be the 3rd one of your choices, which is the lantern candlestick. So let me get started by simply thanking Rustoleum very much for this opportunity. I love to teach, and I'm excited about this event, and I hope that all of you that are partaking in this walk away with some confidence in making arrangements. All right, now I'm going to tell you that you're going to get a kit, whichever you've chosen. It'll come in a bag like this. This is the lantern kit. Everything you need is in this kit, except for wire cutters. You're going to have to provide wire cutters, a pair of scissors. Okay, you're going to need your own pair of scissors, and a hot glue gun or a hot glue skillet, whichever you would prefer to use. I use my hot glue gun very minimally. A lot of times it comes in so hot that I don't want to work, with delicate flowers with that kind of heat at the end. So what I do is I melt my glue sticks in an electric skillet. It's a very small skillet. It's about an 8 by 8 inch skillet. And I just put glue sticks in there. I use Gorilla Glue sticks, and they melt at the temperature of between 300 to 350. All right. And then I just turn it off and let it harden, and I can reuse it, every time I design. So you do not have to empty your glue skillet, but you also can't make eggs in it anymore either. So whichever method you choose, you go ahead and get, if you have a glue gun, you're going to need to use the glue gun to adhere a lot of the things that we're doing today. And I will be using both. But primarily, I am going to be using my glue skillet because I like to dip and stick. It's a little quicker for me. Okay, so let's get started. Let's open up your kit. Let's see what comes in it. The first thing that's going to come in it is your lantern. Okay. Now, your lantern comes with this Christmas decoration on top. I'm going to take it off. It's going to kind of fight the rest of the look that we're building. We're using champagne gold. Champagne gold is kind of a mix of silver and gold. It's not committed to either side. It's a mix of it. So that's why I'm going to take this off, because I don't want it on the lantern itself. All right? You do what you would like. This lantern is battery operated. The batteries go in the bottom, of course, and I did not include the batteries with your lantern. You're going to have to supply them yourself. Let me see, I believe there are 3 AAA batteries that you need for this lantern. And obviously there's the on-off switch here. When we build this on the candlestick, we are not going to glue this, all right? You will be able to remove this to turn it on and turn it off and to change the batteries. And also when you store it after Christmas or after the holidays, if you are storing it, you can take this off and store the base and the lantern separately. That way, you don't have to worry about it being damaged. In any case, you will need to get yourself 3 AAA batteries. Okay, so the other things that are included in your kit: the candlestick. This is a wooden candlestick with a metal tray. They put metal trays on top of candlesticks because if you put a burning candle, a candle that actually is on fire, this is kind of a safety feature, all right? It's also a feature we have to overcome, but I'll explain that in just a few minutes. The other things that are included in your kit: you're going to get 3 greenery stems. Okay, this stem here. You're going to get this stem, which opens up to lots and lots of pieces. You're going to get a stem, secondary green stem. All right. And then the third stem you're going to get is a frosted greenery. All right. Now my idea when I was putting this particular kit together, the angel and the snowman are heavily tied to the winter, all right, heavily tied. And what I was trying to do with this particular candlestick is that if we made it somewhat, I don't want to say generic, but not necessarily tied to a holiday, you can get more life out of it. You don't have to tuck it away right after Christmas. You can keep it out pretty much as long as you want, certainly up until the summer. I don't think it will look very much like a summer candlestick with this frosted in greenery in it. However, it's not as, like I said, heavily tied to the winter. All right, now the other things that we have in here in your kit, we have one hydrangea, which is a pretty large head hydrangea, so that's why there's only one. You can see it compared to the candlestick itself. And we have 2 champagne balls, sets of balls. There's 2 of these sticks in there. And we'll disperse this around the candlestick arrangement towards the end. We're also going to get 2 stems of berries. All right. And some champagne ribbon. And when you see this ribbon in person, you'll see that it looks gold and then it looks silver. So it's champagne gold. And finally in the kit are things to construct. We have the foam and we have zip ties and nub. I call it a nub, but the best way to describe it is it's the bottom of these greenery. You know, this is a really heavy wire underneath here. So I cut this portion off of another one and I've included it in your kit. And that is the means to which we are going to use to put the bow into our arrangement. Go over that. And then there's some zip ties I've said. And these little picks, they're going to help us put the lantern on top of this. And then finally we have pieces of felt. You're saying felt? Felt is a very magic fabric, and let's get started with that right away. I'll tell you how the felt works, and we'll get started. Okay, now, as I said before, this candlestick is a metal candlestick, a metal tray that sits on the top of this candlestick. And unfortunately, hot glue does not stick to metal. Okay, now you can put hot glue on it, you can stick your styrofoam on it, and it'll stay for a little while, but eventually it comes right off. All right, and that would be the problem, is that I don't know year to year if you would be able to, you know, use this candlestick if the top part came off. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put felt on there, and if you can imagine, felt it's a magic fabric. It sticks to, with hot glue, it adheres to metal like you can't imagine. It just does. That's the magic trick. And then we have 2 pieces of felt. I'm going to put 1 piece of felt on the top of the foam here. Okay, so that, and when we get closer to putting this together, I'll explain, or I'll show you why. But this is pretty much the area that we are not going to design in, because that's where your lantern is going to go. So we're going to just stick that on there to remind us, and also when we are done designing, then the lantern, if it's not on there, you won't see this raw edge, you know, as much. So that kind of serves 2 purposes. So let's start by building up this little tray area here. I'm going to just take and cut a piece of felt in 2, and I'm going to just take a little off. It's a little bit longer than the tray itself, and all I'm doing is giving it kind of a buffer here to build it up so that our foam will sit right on top. All right, so let's start with that. I'm going to use this. Now this is a very, I've told you before, my glue gun is really hot. I think it's industrial, but watch the steam coming out of it. That's why I don't use it when I put in the flowers in my arrangements, because that on your fingers is not very comfortable at all. Okay, so all I'm doing is putting the glue on underneath the felt, all right, the first piece of felt, and then I'm going to do the same thing again to adhere the second, and I'm going to lay the second one kind of off center of the, I don't want them, you know, lined up perfectly. I want them to kind of be, have a little bit of, you know, I'm just putting the points differently so that kind of has a star pattern with the points of the felt, all right? If you lined them up, that's not a problem. I just, out of habit, do it this way. Okay, I'm gonna let that, I'm gonna put that to the side just for a little bit. Let's work on our foam. Now our foam comes in a square. You can see that the square lines up pretty much with the lantern. It's a little bit of an overhang of the foam over the lantern. Let's see if I can show you. But anyway, it's pretty close. But what we need to do is we need to make this bottom part a little bit more rounded so it will fit in the candlestick. So I'm going to take a knife and I'm just going to take the corner off. Can you see that very easily? I've just taken the corner off. And I'm not starting at the top. I'm starting kind of midway through the foam and taking the corner off. Because we want the full size on the top, we just need to narrow down the base. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just taking the corners off. And you'll see as I do this, I'm actually making the bottom round and the top will stay the square that we need. So let's just keep whittling away at this. All right, I take a little of the edge off of the bottom, just to try to get it into a rounder shape. Takes a little patience, but it'll work. Okay, and after I take these two edges off, I'm going to look at it on the candlestick to see if I need to do any more. Okay, you can use, if you don't have an X-Acto knife or one of these box cutters, you can use a serrated knife from your kitchen. That'll work just as well. It won't damage the knife. You're doing kind of minimal work on it, but I have my old bread knife in here to cut this foam from the big sheet that it comes on. Okay, let's compare this now and see how it sits. Okay, so you can now see that the base of my foam fits very easily into the top part of the candlestick. Okay, because I've cut those pieces off. However, the whole top of this foam is still intact. It's still a square, and it'll still hold your lantern. Now, I'm going to dip the bottom of this into my glue pot. Just kind of scrape off the excess glue. Okay, let's see if you can see this. The glue is on the bottom. See how it, okay. And now I'm just going to put this on the candlestick and apply pressure. All right, it's going to take a little time to cool off and adhere, but it pretty much is, especially with that foam, with the felt on there, the magic of felt. Okay. All right, so that's pretty steady already. And as it dries, it will only get better. Now, The lantern is a bit tricky. There are 4 holes in the lantern base itself. All right, see if you can see them. It's not the corner holes, those have screws in them, but just about 1/4 of an inch away from the corner is a hole that goes through to the inside of the lantern. Okay, now we're going to take, included in your kit, are 2 of these green picks. They're floral picks. All right, that's their purpose. They have a sharp end, and then they have, like, you know, a blunt end up at the top. We're going to take and cut off the top part. We're going to cut off about 1/3 of the pick to start out with. Okay, and we don't need the end that has the little wire on it. That's what we're going to throw away. So again, we're just cutting 1/3, the top 1/3 off. We may end up cutting off more. I'm just going to start with the top 1/3 because we don't want these to be seen in the lantern, but we just want it to hold it in place. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my lantern on and just give it a double. There we go. Just double checking it. Okay. So we're going to put these little picks on here, and then when we're done designing, we're going to put the lantern on the picks. All right? That way it gives it a little bit of stability. It's not going to hold it in place, but it'll give it a little stability. And we're not going to do all 4. We're just going to do the 2 kitty corner spots. So I'm going to stick the first one in. I'm going to glue it in. Dip it in my glue, stick it in, and this is purely by guessing. I'm sorry, there's no better way to do it. And then I'm going to take a corner, whichever corner you choose. That is when I put my lantern on there, it was kind of leaning, and I was kind of concerned about it, but what it is the little tray was off of the lantern. So when I pushed it in, it made it, I can see it's going to be more level than it was before. Okay, so I'm going to put my pick through this hole here. I'm going to line it up, guide it through that little first hole. And there we go. So you see how it kind of holds it in place. Now, this is where the guesswork comes, guys. You're going to have to kind of, and I don't glue this second one in until I get it to work. So I'm going to just kind of lift up the lantern a little bit and put it in the other hole and then bring it down. Okay, so let's see if I got them both in there. It's just going to take a little time. You have to be patient with it, with the process. And again, it's not dire. These little pieces aren't dire. When you see how we design this up, this lantern will pretty much stay on its own. There it is. Okay? So now I can glue this in. I have the hole in my eye here. I have my eye on the hole, I should say. There we go. Okay. So now both of them will go in. And you still, even when after you put the new batteries in it or whatever, you're still going to have to eyeball the 2 of them and kind of jiggle it around a little bit to make it work. But there you have it. Okay. And again, it's not going to, don't get upset. If yours doesn't work, don't worry about it, because this is pretty much just a precaution to hold it in place. But you can design this whole thing without those little picks, put the lantern in, and all of the greenery you've put in there will hold that lantern in place, okay? So now that we know that it's going to work, my 2 picks are stuck in there. They're glued in, not going anywhere. I'm just going to put this piece of felt down on top. All right, I'm not using my glue gun on this one because that glue gun is so hot, it will melt the foam. The glue that I'm putting on here is a little bit cooler and it will not melt the foam. So there we have it. We have our candlestick is now prepped and ready to design. Okay, so I have this on the Lazy Susan, so I can spin this around and show you the different angles. If you have a Lazy Susan at home, I would suggest using it. It makes it a lot easier to design. However, it's not a tool that you need, you know, to design. It's just a extravagance that makes it easier. How's that? Okay, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take the big pick that I told you about. All right, we're going to separate each of the stems that are on that big pick. All right, we're just peeling them back. We're spreading them out. I'm just going to move this just so that this is easier for you to see, okay? All we're doing is we're just peeling this all back. The reason is we're going to cut off each of these branches individually, and we're going to, see, I'm just pulling it. See the brown stem there? The brownish stem. Let's see if I can turn it. Ooh. Anyway, it's back here. And all I'm doing is pulling each branch away from that brown big stem. And with my wire cutters, I'm going to cut off each of them as close to that brown stem as possible. All right, I'm just cutting each branch right off as close to the brown stem. All right, and the reason is you need this piece of wire that's close to the stem. You need that in order to stick these individual branches into the foam for your design. So once you cut them all off, you see I'm just cutting them individually. There we go. You're left with the main stem, which we don't need, so just toss that in the garbage. Now take the time and sort out each branch into its particular type. Evergreen. Okay, this is flat leaf eucalyptus. Okay, all we're doing is sorting them. This is eucalyptus here. All right, this is cedar. In my other recordings, I've had the discussion, is it cedar or is it cypress? I'm calling it cedar in this one. Okay, now we have these brown branches that have acorns on it. I'm going to separate those out. And then we are going to, you'll have two of these like pods. They look like pods on this stem. Okay, we're going to save the acorns and the pods. We're going to put them over to the end, and we'll put them in our arrangement at the more towards the end. All right. So now we have we actually have 3 of these pods. I didn't see that one laying there. Okay. So we have 4 types of greenery, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the largest ones first. Largest meaning the greenery that takes up the most room. See, these 2 will take up more room than these. All right, so let's start with these. We're going to start with the cedar. We have 3 of them. So I'm going to take and see the stem that was left when I cut it off of the brown, the big brown stem. We're going to put these into the glue pot, or if you're using a glue gun, put a dab of glue on it. And we're going to put these around the candlestick. Since we have 3 of them, we're going to do it in kind of in thirds. So start at a place on your candlestick foam, all right? And I'm going to tell you that the foam itself, when I refer to it, this is the top part or the bottom. All right, so I put this first stem at the bottom. All right, now I'm going to kind of find a third of a way around, and I'm going to put, since I put this one at the bottom, I'm going to put this one in the foam at the top. Okay. I had one piece kind of fall off, which is not a problem. All you need to do is individually put that in. And it's a little weaker edge, so all I'm going to do is just kind of poke a hole in the foam, just a little hole, just to get it started, that's all. Because once you get it in there and you hear the crunch, there we go, it's not going to go anywhere. All right, and then our third one is going to go over here. And this one I'm just going to kind of put in the middle of the foam, okay? The middle from top to bottom of the foam. It's 2 inches, so the top part is the first part, you know, the very edge, towards the edge, top edge, bottom edge, and middle. All right? All right, so now let's take our second biggest one. Again, we have 3 of these. Oh, 4. Okay, so the 4 of these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically put one pretty much in between each of these. Okay, all we're doing is just spreading our greenery out. We don't want the same piece of greenery right next to it itself. We're trying to make this all mingle together. All right. And I'm giving each of my stems a little bit of a bend, an arc. All right, and just spread it out. There's no right or wrong. The only thing that I want you to take away from this is the movement of the branches as we put them in from high to low, high to low, high to low. Okay, and what you're doing there is you're building depth. If they were all on the same plane, it would look like a clock, a big flat clock. All right, by doing and moving one up higher, one lower as you're going around, it's giving it multiple levels and more interest. Okay, so there we have the 4 in. All right, and as I spin it, you'll see that they're all kind of different angles, right? And that's what we're trying to achieve. Okay, now the next one is, I'm going to use this eucalyptus because it still has a little bit more density than this little kind of flimsy one. Again, there's no right or wrong, but this is the way that I do it. And let's count these up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so just know that 5 have to go around. And all we're doing is finding a different, if our first piece was low, then we're putting this piece up high. If the piece was high, we're just going to do it low. And we're going to go in between. All right, just spin it around and fill in the holes. Going high, low, high and low. Okay, give you a quick spin. Some of these are high, some of them are coming out lower. All right, last one. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these as well. Okay, so we're just gonna spin this and fill. Okay, just remember the high low and you'll be good. When you go on the low side, you're putting in the low one, kind of pull, bend it so that it drapes down a little bit. And I should say with the lantern, we are not using the top part at all. All right? It's only the side edge of the foam that we're using. Just holding it while I stick it in. That was aggressive. And this is our last one with this piece of greenery. Okay, so that's pretty much what we have. And you can see there's lots of holes left in the foam. Do you see that? Lots of holes that in the greenery that you can see the foam through. All right, we'll take care of that though. Now, our next greenery piece, we're going to do the same method with this greenery piece. Okay, before this goes anywhere, I want you to cut off this end, all right, and save it. This is a nub that we want to save just in case we have to add something that doesn't have a sharp edge. We definitely have in our packet, we have a nub for the, sorry about the noise, for the bow, but you know, if you want to put other things in there, you may need it. Now this, we're doing the same thing with this. We're going to pull these branches away from the edge, away from the big stem. Okay. And then we're going to cut it all off. Now these broke off into 4 stems, but each stem then can be cut further. So cut the 4 main bunches off. Okay, and now each bunch has 3 or 4 different kinds in that. So this is where you have to be careful to cut and make sure that you give yourself a point at the end that's firm enough to go into the foam. Okay, now this one here, I want to show you that if I cut this one off, it wouldn't have, I guess it does have an edge in it. Let's try it. Let's see what, you know. There we go. So we have 3 pieces. Yes, it does have enough. And this is what is going to throw you. One of these is a cypress and one is a cedar. So I don't know my greenery very well enough to tell you which is the correct one, but you'll see now we have, this is cedar or cypress, and there we have that. Okay, so now we're just going to go through, we're going to cut off each of the individual and sort them just like we did with the first one. All right, let's just take our time, find and make sure when you're cutting, you always leave some kind of a strong point at the base of it, because you're going to need that to go into, oh, this is slightly different. Okay, so we have lots of different. Okay, that's that one. Okay, all I'm doing, just separating them and cutting them. Got eucalyptus in this. We have this is eucalyptus. So you know this one has 4 pieces on that one. We're just going to cut them all off, giving ourselves long points to. This looks like rosemary to me. There we go. Oh, this is a rogue one too. This is, it doesn't matter if it's exact or not. Don't lose sleep over that. Okay. There we go. All right, so we have all of our pieces, and we're just going to go through and do the same thing we did with the first one. We're just going to work on through according to the type of greenery it is, okay? Now I am going to tell you this is a little bit of a styling, and I do want to show you what I should have done this in the beginning. Let me show you the finished product. Okay, so this is what our lantern is going to look like. All right, we have the bow and the flower, and then you see that it's, okay, so for my design, I always design this way. It's kind of just a way my brain sees this. Facing you, this would be the front of the lantern. Facing you, the bow is going to be on your left-hand side. So the lantern, as it faces you, I'm going to design with the bow and the flower on the left-hand side of the lantern. All right? And I want this side of the lantern to kind of have I'd like this side high and this side lower. Okay, so we kind of have that line. As you look at it from straight, it's kind of high to low. All right, so with that in mind, I'm going to decide which of this candlestick is my front. All right, and I'm going to put, we only have one of these pieces in this. So I'm going to put this piece on the left-hand side, and I'm going to have it kind of sticking up. And the reason for that, let me stick it in and then I can show you. But the reason for that is I want to have a backdrop to that flower and that bow. All right, I want to have just a little bit of greenery that creates that line. Okay, so this facing you would be the front where my hand is. So I'm building just a line, and I want to carry that line through down here. So let's take the time and let's use this one of these tall ones here, okay, to finish that line. And let me show it to you. I'm going to put it in above and bring it down. And you'll see it's kind of the long, okay, so this is straight on. All right, so we have tall and long. And I'm going to put one of these in. I'm going to just peel off these bottom little petals to give me a better point. All right, and I'm going to put this behind this one. Okay, kind of curled upwards towards my lantern. Again, it's to create a line using greenery that starts out high on the left-hand side and goes up on down to the right. And this is, again, the left-hand side of as it's facing you, okay? Now, okay, I have my lawn guys here now, so I hope that the noise doesn't interfere with you being able to hear me. All right, so we have one more of these tall pieces. I don't want it sticking out the back, okay, because we want this kind of to be, it's still going to be an all-rounded arrangement, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time decorating the back. The back is going to be well covered, but I don't want to waste any greenery there. So let's take and let's fortify this corner by putting one more tall one in, kind of in there, somewhere in there. So it's just emphasizing this draping and elongating that side of the arrangement, okay? So can you see how it's not right next to it? There's another greenery in between it, but it's still elongating that line. Okay, so now let's take the other pieces of our greenery, this slight what other, cypress or cedar. It's gonna be the death of me, I guess. We're gonna take, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces, okay? So just know the count in your mind so you know it's basically 2 on each side of the arrangement, okay? We're still doing high-low. We're finding a window. We're filling in the spots, but we're gonna go still high-low when we're on the same side. So I have this one on the high side. This one I'm gonna put on the low side. Okay, we're just trying to create. Sorry about this, folks. Go low on the next side, underneath the, don't be afraid to pick up the greenery that's already on there to expose the foam underneath it, because that needs to be filled in as well. All right. See, some of these have a little bit weaker end. And if that happens to you, just push it in as best you can. There we go. Okay. If you see me waving my hand, I'm just collecting the glue strings that are there. It's not a signal. It's not a signal, send help, nothing like that. It's just, see, the glue creates the strings, and all I'm doing is basically winding them up on my hand and then putting it back into the glue pot. All right, I have 2 more, and I have to do it on the back. Again, I'm just looking for little holes that have been left from the previous placement of greenery. And I'm not forgetting to bring some lower, draping it down. Going underneath the stuff, the greenery that's already in place. All right, and there we go. Now let's see, of these, we have 2 of them. So let's put 1 on this front corner and 1 on the back corner, kind of kitty corner from each other. All right. And I'm going to go underneath on this one because it is pretty substantial. Let it come out. And then this side, you know, we can go low on this side as well. We don't need to go high. I'm going to go low on both sides. Okay. All right. So we have good form. We have eucalyptus next, and there are 6 of them. So knowing that, I know how to spread them out. Let's find some holes. Okay. I can't do 2 on each side, but I can spread them. There we go. This one has got a very long stem. I don't need that long. I'm just going to cut it off a little bit and put it in. Okay, we have 3 more. On the top here. Don't forget your bottoms. Okay, this is the last one. one piece of this. Pick anywhere you want. I think I'm going to put it towards the back of my arrangement. Only because it's one. Okay. There we go. Okay, we are done with the greenery. Now we're going to put in the frosted greenery. Now this greenery still has to be cut off. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to cut these off. There's 3 branches, 3 to start with. Now I do want to point out that the very base of this one, we're going to use this stem here, because if I cut it, all right, because this little piece is going to need something. Now, when you take each one of those branches that we've just cut off, we're going to cut the main stem that they're on, and we're going to cut right above. We're cutting the brown stem just above the piece that's on there. So when you cut it, this piece has a stem. You see how that, can you see that? It has this brown stem that we can glue. All right, so then we go up to the next piece on that branch and just cut above that one. So it has a stem to glue in, and you've left a stem for the one above it, okay? So each one of these has a little bit of a brown stem, and that's what you're going to need to stick that in the foam, okay? So let's quickly do that with each one of these. We're just cutting above the piece, cutting the brown stem just above the piece. Now we're getting 4 off of each one of these, so we'll have 12 pieces to spread out. And we're going to basically, this is the last piece of greenery, so we're going to really look hard and make sure that we are filling the holes. And we want this is the only frosted greenery that we're using, so we don't want to hide it necessarily, okay? We want it to come through, and we're just going to work around. I said we have 12, so it's pretty much 3 on each side of the square, all right? So just take your time, fill in the spots, make sure that the frosted part of the greenery is, see, they don't frost all the way around. They only kind of frost the top and the side. So just make sure that the frosted part is definitely showing, you know, is up. So go around, find your holes, fill it in, okay? And the greenery will, the sparkle should be showing. Do it as best you can. Okay. I hope that leaf blower wasn't bothering you guys too much. It's over now, but it tends to be annoying because they always come when you don't expect it. There we go. Now this one is still, it's lower, but it's still poking out, so you can still see it. And I hope that you'll see, as we're continuing this process of high-low, you'll see how all the greenery kind of mixes so nicely together. It all is well balanced. It's a very easy process, truly, to get balance in your arrangements if you do this method where you know, separate them and by type and put them in singly. There we go. And again, I used only one frosted because I wanted this particular arrangement to last a little bit longer seasonally for you. So if you chose this, you can keep this out a little bit longer. My last two. Is there any spot? See, this is the back, and I'm thinking instead of using the, I'm going to put it up. Put it up in front a little bit more. The back is well covered, so it's not going to, we're not taking away from the back, but then let's use our pretties up in the front, a little bit more in the front. Okay, so there we have it. All of our greenery is in. All right, take the time to kind of spin it around for you. Of course, this is the backdrop for our bow and flower. Okay, so let's get on that bow. How's that? Let's make our bow real quick. Okay, in your kit, you have 2.5 yards of ribbon. Okay, that's quite a bit of ribbon because we're not making a massive bow, only because a candlestick can't really take a massive bow. When you design a candlestick, generally what you're doing is you're just putting an accent. You're using the bow as an accent as opposed to a focal point. Hope that is kind of makes sense. You know, it's not, you want it to accent your arrangement as opposed to stand out. Okay, so what I do, I make a linear bow, all right, and I'll make 4, how many did I make over there? Well, I only made 3 over there, 3 loops. Let's start with 3 loops and see what we have. So we're going to take, and this ribbon definitely has a front and a back, so let's make sure that we're starting with the front out. And if you do this to your ribbon, the wires on the edge, you can pretty much curl it, okay? So I'm going to take and make a knife edge cut, and that means I'm just cutting like a point to a point. Really should have something black to show this to you with. But anyway, I've just cut it from one side to the other, not directly across, more on an angle, so that it gives you kind of a knife edge, all right? So I'm going to take, and I want my tail to kind of hang this far, all right? Not all the way down to the ground, but give it a little bit of character that way. So let's measure this to my hand here. It is from the tip of the ribbon, it's 12 inches. Okay, so this is 12 inches of ribbon here. That's going to be my first tail. Now I'm going to keep my thumb on that, the 12th inch up here. I'm keeping my thumb there, and we're going to make a loop. We're going to bring that ribbon and make that loop. Okay, I'm still holding it at the 12-inch mark. Now I'm going to take and bend that ribbon backwards and make a loop again, slightly bigger than that first loop. Okay, can you see that? It's just slightly bigger. Then we're going to do one more loop, the same thing. We're just bending it on top of it. We're going to make a third loop that's just slightly bigger. Can you see the step down? Slightly bigger than that one. All right, now I'm holding all of these ends together. I'm going to take that back ribbon. Remember I told you there's a right and a wrong side to this ribbon? I'm going to take this back ribbon and just twist it right where my finger is so that the front of the ribbon is coming forward, okay? I'm going to gather it up to a little bunch right there. I'm going to go into my kit and grab out one of the zip ties and that nub that I have in there for you. That piece of wire, it's a very thick wire, but it's a wire, okay? Everybody's will be different than this because this I just literally cut off of any of the branches I have in my stock room to make these nubs. So some people may have white ones, some may have black, some will have this color. It just is the the way. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it right up to the back, maybe about an inch above that place that I've gathered everything. So you'll an inch in there. I'm going to take that zip tie and where my thumb was holding all of those ends together, I'm going to take the zip tie and pull it as tightly as I can, pinning that wire nub right in there. Let's cut off this zip tie end. So you'll see I have a bow on a stick. Okay, I have my bow. If you turn it over, here's the stick. You see the stick? Okay. And then I have this end, and I'm going to cut a shorter end on this one. Again, on an angle. All right. So this is my bow. Now with this stick, with this end here, this is how I'm going to push into the foam. I'm going to be pushing on this using that top inch, remember that we put above, okay? Now I know my bow is going to go here in front of with the flower area, and I want the bow next to the in fact, let's just take a little quick back step. I'm going to put the lantern on. Okay, I'm not going to really worry too much about if I'm going to get it in the holes, but it's not in there permanently. I mean, you know, it's kind of still janky, but I just want to show you that, see, I want this bow to be right here. Okay, so I'm going to cut off. In this particular case, everybody's nub is going to be different, so I can't tell you to cut off an inch, 2 inches, whatever, because your nub is not going to be the same as mine. But I just want roughly from the zip tie a 3-inch. Okay, so I have an inch above the zip tie, 3 inches below. Again, yours is all going to be different, but just trying to give you an idea. And I'm going to bend this. I want the bow facing this way, but the foam that I am putting it into is on the side. So I'm going to bend my nub. See, it's kind of got a left. You see that? Left. Okay, because I'm going to put that into the foam in front of, I'm going to dip it in glue first. I'm going to put this in front of the greenery. So the greenery is still the backdrop. Okay, and I'm still holding on. Just trying to find a spot that it's going to fit in nicely. Okay, so you see how this is all, this one, I'm going to move my shorter tail to the front, give it some love by just running my fingers over it. You know, it's like, the ribbon is like the curling ribbon that we used to decorate packages with. Remember the scissors? You open your scissors, you'd run that ribbon through. If you do that same technique with your fingers, it gives it a curl, all right? And all I'm going to do is just kind of weave it through my greenery a little bit, just so it's not sitting right on top. Now, let's put our flower in. The flower is going to go in front, nestled very closely to the ribbon, okay? You get a stem this long, you definitely don't need it. We're going to cut this one, okay? You'll see on your stem that there's like indents. Just cut in the very first indent, okay? Again, we need to bend this stick a little bit because it's got to go into the foam at an angle. And I'm going to have this facing me as I do it. Dip this stem in and find that foam. All right. So there it is. That's arrangements. I actually am going to bring my ribbon over a little bit like this, so it's coming off more to the side. My tail, my first little tail. Okay. You can fidget with your ribbons. All right. So, and actually, I am going to cut that ribbon because that was too long for me. So you don't quite need a 12-inch tail really, but so you can see how that all fits together. All right. Now, if you want, with this spare ribbon, you can make a loop and a tail for over here. If you want to, it's up to you. I didn't do it on the other one, on the original, but I can do it here quickly for you just to show you. Remember we took that nub from our first stem, okay? So you're gonna need to bend that one. It's the same idea. We're just gonna take, make a tail. We've already learned we don't need 12 inches. So this one, let's just take it down to 6 inches. Okay, so I have 6 inches. I'm just making a loop. All right, and then twisting this. All right, now you don't want 2 bows. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. You can make 2 bows. There's no right or wrong. There's no 2, but you just don't want your eyes fighting. In my design, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get your eye to move from left to right as you're staring at this. And if I had a big bow over here, you know, it wouldn't necessarily flow the same way. It's not going to make it terrible, but it just doesn't flow the same if you have 2 points like looking at each other, you know. So that's just my opinion. It's not right or wrong. It's just that's how I look at things when I design. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm taking that point. I've twisted that bottom ribbon. I'm taking that, leaving about 1 inch above. I have another zip tie in my packet. I'm just going to tie this around it. Pull it very tight as you can get it. All right, cut off that zip tie end. Okay, and now you can see that I can cut off this much of it right away because I want this end. If I'm going to use this, I'm going to just push it directly in. And I want my bow this little accent to kind of flow downward, okay? So I want the tails to kind of flow downward. So let's see how this would look. I'm not gluing it at this point, but I am going to cut off this. Give me a smaller. Oops. Okay. And I'm going to put it at the end that trails over so that my ribbon kind of follows that line of the greenery that we have pointing down, okay? Doing knife end cuts on both of the ends. Okay, and let me show you what it looks like. It's actually a very pretty addition to your... But see, it's not fighting with this side because it's not like big. It's not fighting. Okay, so let's get to the fine points of this. Now comes the time where we're going to take... All right. My lantern did that little jig because it wasn't in there right. I don't want you to think. Okay, now I'm going to take these. I'm going to cut each of these balls off on both stems. Separating them. some of these have smaller sticks. Some have long ones, okay? The smaller ones we're going to use close in. And actually, for this purpose, let's put our lantern in and take the time to put it on the stakes. Okay, there you go. That's locked in for me. And that way you can really place these balls specially, you know, take the time to put the balls where you want them. Okay, I'm just going to take the short ones. My first short one is going to go right in this corner. I'm going to catch that foam. Okay. Now, of course, I'm going to want one back here by the bow. I'm going to take a taller one and put that in. Maybe not quite this tall. I'll put one maybe back in the back, but I'm not going to spend too much of this. Okay. I'm going to put one in the middle. Kind of medium length. Just got to get through all of that. Okay. Now you don't, when you're putting them in, don't put them side by side. You don't want them to look like eyeballs. You need to spread them out a little bit. Let's put one back here. Let's take a medium size one. Okay, put them on different angles, different planes. Let's put one maybe down here. Let's see how this looks. Well, that would look too close to the other one. Let's put this one back towards the back. And on this back corner here. Slightly upwards so that it still can be seen from the front maybe. And then one more in the very back here. Kind of in the middle. More towards the corner. Okay? All right, now we're down to the last couple of pieces. We're going to take this berry spray and we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing this whole time. We're going to cut them up and then we're going to just disperse them throughout the whole arrangement. Okay, take this brush up. And actually, before we get to the berries, let's put these in real quick, okay? We only have 2 of these, the acorns, okay? So we definitely need to spread these out because they're brown. If you don't want to put them in, you don't have to, but believe it, they add a very interesting texture. The other color, I just drape it over the side there. And then I'm going to, of course, guess where I'm putting it, guys? By the bow. There we go. And then we have 3 of these pod-like things. I'm just going to put them in the corners here. One is on this corner. One I'll put down below this, from the bottom of this corner, the other front corner. I'm sure I can find foam under there somewhere, huh? Yes, there it is. Okay. Then my very last one, I'll put towards the back in this corner over here. Okay, now the last part are these berries. Now we can bend them, and this is going to be a good example of what I mean by each one needs to have a thick stem on it. So I'm going to cut just above, on the first one, just above that one, just above them. I'm going to go right down the line, cutting right. Make sure that both cameras can see this. Okay, just cutting right above the next one in line. That's giving each of these berries part of this thick stem. Okay, let me show you on this one more time. Just open these up, and you're cutting the thick stem, the stem that these are on, just above the one just above the next one. Okay. So, all we're going to do now is just go around and fill in. And I'm going to tell you, these are so light that if you put glue on the end and just stick it into the, of course, if you can hit the foam, that's great. But if you don't hit the foam, it's no big deal because it will stay glued to all of the other greenery. It kind of forms the, you know, it'll connect up with, like, look at this one. I'm just going to stick it in. All right. I'm just going to go around, stick these in, and I'm not going to worry about getting to the foam because it's connecting with the other greenery. It's like gluing itself to the other greenery that's in there. All right, so just tuck them in as you go around. Hopefully your glue won't give you as many glue sticks. Glue, not glue sticks, but glue strings. Mine, I think, because the temperature in my craft room here is a little bit cooler, so it's it's cooling off by the time I go to stick it in, and it gives me the string. Okay. Just making sure that they're all throughout the arrangement. This is the back, so I'm not gonna do too many more in the back unless I have some to spare. But right now I want to make sure I get to the front. These are the remaining ones. And if you don't want to make them, if you want to make them longer, then just cut them a little bit. Don't cut off each one individually. Cut them off maybe every second one, you know. However you want to do it. I think I need one right here somewhere. Let's get this one down here. Down a little bit lower. And we probably need a lower one down here as well in this corner. Okay, last one. You gotta use it wisely. I see where I'm gonna put it. Stick it right in here. Okay. So there you have it. This is the lantern. Okay. And you know, I'm looking at this, and I think one more thing that I'm going to add to your kits. All right. And your kit will be unique in this. The other ones won't have it. I'm going to give you a little bit of moss. It'll be included in your kit. It's going to just look like this, okay? And I just want you to take and break a little piece off. If you have to cut it, just cut it. Just little pieces, okay? And just tuck them in around your lantern because, you know, we have some of that foam that can be seen. And, you know, I'm looking at this, and I think one more thing that I'm going to add to your kits. All right. And you know, I'm looking at this, and I think one more thing that I'm going to add to your kits. All right. And you know, I'm looking at this, and I think one more thing that I'm going to add to your kits. All right. And you know, I'm looking at this, and I think one more thing that I'm going to add to your kits. All right. And you know, I'm looking at this, and I think one more thing that I'm going to add to your kits. All right. And you know, I'm looking at this, and I think one more thing that I'm going to add to your kits. All right. And you know, I'm looking at this, and I think one more thing that I'm going to add to your kits. All right. And you know, I'm looking at this, and I think one more thing that I'm going to add to your kits. All right. And you know, I'm looking at this, and I think one more thing that I'm going to add to your kits. All right. And you know, I'm looking at this, and I think one more thing that I'm going to add to your kits. All right. And you know, I'm looking at this, and I think one more thing that I'm going to add to your kits. All right. And you know, I'm looking at this because the lantern is just a little bit smaller than the square we started out at. And all I'm doing is just tucking this in. I don't want to put it totally underneath the lantern, because then you'll never be able to get your lantern to lay level. Okay, so just take the enclosed moss, just tuck it right along the edge of the lantern. If it hangs off into the arrangement, it just adds a texture. And there, you've kind of hidden that foam edge that is on, that the lantern is sitting on. All right. I kind of wish that I put batteries in this for you so that I could show you what it would look like lit up. But when you get yours, light her up, huh? All right. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this arrangement inspires you to look at things differently. Like, who would have thought a candlestick could make an arrangement? But I'm glad that you came, and like I said, I hope this inspires you. I want to thank Rustoleum again from the bottom of my heart. This is a wonderful opportunity for me. And with that being said, I'm going to say goodbye. Have a great holiday season and a happy, healthy new year. Bye-bye.